This video is the top 5 mistakes or obstacles that you're going to face. Don't make mistakes with them. So these are the 5 things that I learned are the biggest obstacles in small business today, especially internet. We're talking on this channel about third-party marketplace, which is what most people use. That's a whole nother video. Go watch that. But third-party marketplace just means you sell and have a store within a larger format like Amazon. So we're talking about the 5 biggest things: returns, your interaction with your platform database, customer service, your own inventory, and the metrics and how they lead to things like account restrictions and bans. So we're going to talk about those 5 things really quick. This isn't about any one thing in particular. That's, again, separate video. I have 25 years experience on third-party marketplace, wholesale, retail. I have a lot of experience with things like account bans, database, as you can see, getting stuck with inventory, as you can see. So first one is returns, and returns have changed dramatically. Part of the growth of the internet has been this emphasis on returns for the customer, which means customer gets whatever they want, seller gets nothing. And in a lot of cases now, most platforms force you to do returns in certain ways, force you to go by their rules, and force you to do things that benefit the buyer, the consumer, rather than you, which puts more pressure on the seller. Number 2, your database. So for example, eBay has a self-created database. You create it yourself. But most of the platforms, especially Amazon, have what's called a shared database, which means it was built years ago by some idiot, and that particular database has mistakes in it. And now, even though you can get the buy box, and in theory, that's a whole nother video, you can repair some of those product listings. In general, they're not repairable. Even if you have the buy box, you have the access rights. When you make those changes, they don't occur, which means the databases are unreliable. You're dealing with that database to sell your products. That's a whole nother video. Number 3, customer service. Oh my God. Like, here's the thing. Customer service in response to things like returns, like the internet environment in general, customer service has changed dramatically. And it's probably in the United States always been bad, but now it's especially bad. And so the reaction from big companies to save money or to even stay in business is to farm that customer service out. And people go, why do they do that? Those people don't speak English. Let me tell you why. They'd be out of business if they tried to do the customer service themselves. Do you know why? Because the customers are crazy. And this is one of those obstacles you don't anticipate when you go into third-party marketplace or really any business. Go start a brick and mortar. When you go into it, you don't realize how irrational these complaints are going to be. They're not, oh, you sent me the wrong thing. You look, you sent the wrong thing. It needs to get fixed. That's 1 out of 1,000. The other 999 are insanity, and a lot of them are scams. So customer service is extremely difficult, time consuming, and in a lot of ways tied to your metrics and tied to bans. So huge problem. Inventory, your own inventory. Here you go. You can try to manage inventory. That's a whole nother video. But part of the problem is when you're on multiple platforms, you want to put the amount of inventory you have on each platform, which means you're going to have however many platforms you have times the amount of inventory you actually have. So you have 10 sports jerseys. You put that 10 on Amazon, 10 on eBay, 10 on Target. And so you have 30 floating around out there, but you only have 10 in stock. So if someone buys all 10 on each platform at the exact same time, not super likely to happen. But if that occurs, your inventory's out. So how do you do that? Do you buy this software? Do you learn how to do the software? Do you customize software and spend millions of dollars? There's a lot of issues with inventory you're going to have to deal with online, and you're going to have to deal with in terms of what I call the Murphy's Law of internet sales. Whole another video. So the last one, the 5th obstacle you're going to have trying to do online sales, third-party marketplace, or even brick and mortar, even non-retail small businesses. The last one is metrics. And metrics are how someone above you measures your performance. And so in this particular case, let's talk about Amazon. Let's talk about how they do metrics, because they're actually not that bad. There are some ones that are even worse. And what they do is they gauge things like ship time, how quick it takes you to ship them out, how long it takes to get to the consumer, how many complaints you have relative to how many orders you have. And so the problem is most of this stuff's automated, which means done by computers and is not super reliable, which means even if you're not making these mistakes that your metrics are telling you you're making, it can be a big issue. Let's talk about one example and then end the video. This is your Amazon feedback system. Now, again, some of this stuff changes. I don't know when it changes. I have a lot of problems with Amazon. I don't use it that much anymore. Take this with a grain of salt. It could be changing, could be fixed on one platform, more broken on another. This is what Amazon does with feedback. They allow people to leave negative feedback in an environment where nobody leaves positive feedback. If you have a good experience with your shipment coming in on any platform, you're a lot less likely to leave a feedback. If you have a bad experience, you're going to that feedback. 90% of the people with bad experiences go leave a feedback, go complain, go affect your metrics. But most of the people that have good experiences, you don't hear from, which means if you sell 100 orders and you have a problem with one customer in terms of, let's just say you sent the wrong thing, and that's a problem order, what's going to happen is those 99 that you did not have a problem with that got their item successfully are going to disappear. Nothing's going to happen in terms of your metric. You're not going to get one positive feedback. But the negative person is going to leave one. What's that going to look like on your Amazon metric? It's going to say you have a 100% negative feedback rating. It's going to say you only got one feedback that month. That feedback was negative. You're at 100% for bad feedback. There's no compensation for this. So this may have changed. This may not be the case on every platform. This may be something that doesn't affect you as much. But this is, for example, what happened to me was I would sell 5,000 in a month and I would just get 3 negatives and 3 positives out of that 5,000. 6 people bothered to leave feedback, 3 positive, thank you so much, I'm gonna send you a cake. The other 3 people left negatives. Then I had a 50% approval rating, which directly affects your metrics. This is something people don't expect. This is a huge problem on third-party marketplace, on any internet sales, on your website, on things like websites where people can go complain about things that you've done, whether you're brick and mortar, whether you have a standalone website. So those are the big 5 things: returns, databases, customer service, inventory, and your performance metrics. Those are the 5 things. Go watch specific videos. Subscribe to this channel or you're going to miss out on it. We don't make any money. We're trying to tell you to be careful when you start a small business in 2026. Thanks for watching.